Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. I think today I'd like to talk about it's kind of a philosophical / political stance. And I'm really curious as to what everybody's opinion on this is. So I had a discussion with Grok about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was concerning the medical industry that we have right now. That there's a lot of problems with it. It's mostly on the financial side. When people want something done medically from around the world, they look to America for the most part. I'm sure there are niches where things are getting done elsewhere, but for the most part, if something needs to be done, they look to America and American technology. At least that's what we've been led to believe. I have no reason to doubt that. I do doubt I've had enough coffee this morning. So the government has been for a long time involved with the medical industry. They have regulated and deregulated and regulated, and they have said who can have whose information. They've just completely, in my opinion, screwed up the medical industry. But the biggest thing they screwed up, as far as the medical industry goes, is medical insurance. Let's back up a minute. Let's talk about the water departments. Let's talk about, I live in the county, and my county has a pretty big water district. And the water district that I'm in, we've got water towers all over the county, and they provide our water, for the most part, to almost all members of the county. There are some very rural areas that don't have water provided to them, and they use well and septic tank. So their charges are from electricity usage to pump the water from the well into their house. But the majority of the county has county water. I want to say they do an okay job, but we've gotten a few notices recently about problems they're having. And don't worry, everything's safe. This is a temporary thing that happens once in a while. And of course, 6 months later, we get another notice. So maybe they're not doing that great of a job. But the county and many, many counties and cities across our nation have decided that the best way to handle water is not to have everybody on their own well, but to have municipal water. So we started getting municipal water. And I have to admit, I try not to drink too much of it because of the fluoride and the other things that they've added to it. Like my morning coffee, I make that with distilled water that I add minerals back into. That way I know I'm getting pure water in the mornings. Any water that I drink from the county, I run through a very good filter. I hope it's a good filter. You can only go by what the manufacturer says, of course. That being said, that they're doing an okay job, but it's localized. It's not run by the federal government. It's localized. It's within each city or county or water district or municipal district. So that works out pretty good, because if they screw it up too bad, well, we can have immediate repercussions from your constituents locally. So the water, it's handled pretty good because it's handled on a local level. Then we have the fire department. The fire department is run locally, and every house pays taxes that provide the running budget for each fire department, and that works out. And if the fire department fails, well, we're local. We can call the fire department on what they're doing and have our elected officials take care of business. And we have the police department. Again, where I live, it's county sheriff's department, who I have something to talk about them and doing away with their dash cams and the cameras that they wear on their persons. But that's for another day. But they can be called on. The sheriff is an elected official, and he can be, not elected next time. So we have that. We have those particular things. And a lot of people say that these are social programs, socialist style programs, and they probably are. But as a community, we've gotten together and said, this is how we want to do it. And it has evolved into what it is now. And they do a pretty good job. Here's the problem with the medical, I'll call it the medical department. We have the fire department, the police department, the water department. What we really have is the medical department. And this is run. You can say whatever you want and you can argue with me about the details, but it is run by the federal government. They regulate it. And if you don't believe me, try and break one of those federal rules that they put in place. So they're doing a miserable job of it. And their biggest problem is the insurance companies. Number one, I think that the federal government should not be involved in the medical industry at all. If we want to have some local regulations, well, we can have some local regulations, but the federal government always does an absolute abysmal job of regulating anything. And they become bureaucratically huge, gigantic, which is the case with the medical industry and the federal government department that's running them. If they're going to do this, if they're going to regulate like they are doing, the problem is the insurance. And the insurance is a money grab by these big corporations. And it's obvious that this is what's going on. I know my insurance is not the greatest in the world with my employer. It's the only real downside to working for the company that I have. I had some kidney stones, and for a couple years running, I had $6,000 out-of-pocket expenses. So there's that. The problem is the insurance companies, well, they're working, and their only job is to pay as little as absolute possibly that they can so that they can keep their profit margins high, so they can pay their shareholders as much as possible. And that leads to where we're at now. So the conversation that I had with Grok was about medical insurance and why we don't require, if we're going to be federally mandated and federally involved and federally regulated, why don't we mandate, like the fire department, like the water department, and like the police department, why don't we mandate that it is a nonprofit organization? If you want to service people's medical needs, why are you making a profit? This should be a nonprofit entity. I'm talking specifically about the insurance industry, not the actual medical industry. I understand that doctors need to be well paid and nurses need to be well paid, and I want the best people in those positions that we can get. But how much of the money we give to the insurance company, how much of that money is actually going to the medical staff, the people that are actually caring for you? It's amazing to me that if you go to the pharmacy and this is not across the board, but there are a lot of medicines like this. But if you go to the pharmacy and you say, I need to get my prescription filled, here's my pharmacy, here's my medical card and my credit card or debit card, whatever you want to use, cash, they will charge you your copay. And your copay for the pharmacy could be anything from, $5 to $50. Who knows? I don't know what your plan is. But take a moment and ask them, say to them, if I pay cash out of pocket, how much is it if I don't use my medical insurance? And surprisingly, many times it is less, much less than your copay at the pharmacy. You may ask yourself, why is that? And why doesn't the pharmacy tech or the pharmacist tell me when it's less? Well, because by the rule of the federal government, they're not allowed to. They can't tell you it would be cheaper for you to pay in cash because the medical industry has a huge lobby group in Washington that has made sure their profits are not touched. Further, in an incestuous kind of way, those same people are running the pharmacy, big pharma. They are the same people running both industries, both the insurance, I still have a bit of a cold. They're running both the insurance agencies, the insurance industry, and big pharma. Yeah, They don't want their profits touched, and they want you to pay as much as possible. See a little bit of a conflict of interest there? I certainly do. So the big mistake that we've made, having the federal government having their fingers, I prefer to think of them as their tendrils, because it goes through everything like smoke, man. But they are so embedded in our medical care that our prices are through the roof. I can't shop for insurance across the state line. Why? Why does that make any sense? Well, if you are in the business of controlling medical insurance, you want to make sure that you control specific districts. Call them whatever you want, states, districts, whatever. And you want to make sure you have a monopoly over that. And if you collude with your other insurance agencies, well, there you go. Now you're controlling price. It's awful. So what we did is we said that we're going to set up a municipal medical system through the government, which is horrendous at running anything. And then we said, and it's for profit, the worst of all worlds. I think if the government wants to be involved in the medical industry, they should have one simple rule, and that is it's a non-profit business. Watch all the money grabbers haul butt. That's where I stand on that, and that's my explanation as to why medical costs are completely out of control. Brock did have a problem with making it non-profit overnight, and it said that the problem is going to be the job loss. Well, okay, but I don't think there's going to be that much of a job loss, because I think that the people that are being paid a reasonable amount of money are probably going to hang out and do the job. It's the people that are taking an exorbitant amount of money that are going to haul butt. And we don't really need them in our medical lives, in the part of our life that we turn to our healthcare provider and say, what's best for us? There has to be some sort of filtering system here that separates people who want to give you good health and people who will take your money at any cost. I'm a libertarian. I think that we should let markets take care of almost everything. And if we're going to do the medical system that we have, I think the best idea is to let the market take care of it. But short of that, the only way that we can make this kind of socialized medicine, socialist medicine work, well, the only way to do that is to make it nonprofit. Now, the rest of the socialist entities that we created for the country, the water, the fire department, the police department, the education department, think about that. That's kind of a hybrid thing where the feds are controlling part of it and the locals are controlling part of it, and it's out of control as well. The government just makes things more expensive, more complicated. If you don't think that the government makes things more complicated, go check out the Medicare pamphlet. You're turning 65. I'm not quite there yet. You're turning 65, and now you're going to get your Medicare insurance. Why are they getting Medicare insurance? Well, because people at that age, it's more expensive to care for them. So the insurance companies have said, maybe we should put that off over there on the government. Great. But you want to see how complicated that is? Just go in there and try and figure out which Medicare plan to choose. Why are there different plans? Everybody's turning 65, so everybody needs a different plan because everybody's turning a different 65? The heck is that about? The government needs to get out of the medical field. The government needs to stop regulating medicine, the federal government. Let the locals take care of it. Obviously, fire, police, water, they do a pretty good job of it. Let's let them do a pretty good job of it locally, where we can call them to task when they screw up. It's going to be a fantastic day, and I intend to go out there and have a wonderful day. I hope that you go out there and have a wonderful day as well. I hope that you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, have a fantastic day.